Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the Marvel Legends Psylocke from the X-Men Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave. We have here Psylocke in the front window box, we got the X logo on the top, we get some very cool artwork on both sides, it's the same thing. On the back we do get a product shot as well as all the other figures needed in this wave to complete the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure, and up top we do have the read-up. Betsy Braddock adopts the identity Psylocke, combining mastery of the martial arts with enhanced abilities in telekinesis and telepathy. And on the bottom we have the UPC code, so you can check with your local retailer to see if they have this in stock. But enough about that, let's get this open and take a look at Psylocke. And here's Psylocke taken out of the packaging, and definitely a very cool figure. Really happy to get this classic look. Again, just kind of like some of the other X-Men in this wave, it's great to get these classic looks for that 90s X-Men collection that a lot of us are probably building here with this. Some really cool accessories she comes with. I mean, loaded up with accessories, almost to the point where I think having her displayed with all of them might be a bit much. Might just keep either the psychic butterfly there on her face and maybe like the psi spike. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I don't think I'm going to have her displayed with all of these accessories. With that being said, we're going to get a better look at those accessories here in just one moment, and then we're going to get a better look at the figure herself. And as far as the accessories go, so of course she does come with the Build-A-Figure piece for Apocalypse, which we'll look at a later time. And then we do get basically the butterfly effect for her face, the psi spike, and then we get a sword with some flames on it, which let's start with that. So the sword, well, I say flames, we know that that's just a representation of her psychic effect. But the sword is completely made out of this translucent material, but you can see there is still some definition in that hilt there. And my first thought was the Deadpool from the Juggernaut Wave sword, but if we actually take a look at that, it's not the same. Psylocke's hilt is shorter while the blade is longer, and it's also thicker. Now this little effect is removable, so you could actually use the Deadpool Back in Black sword. I couldn't find my Deadpool Back in Black character, I don't know where he's at, but that character has a regular hilt with the purple blade, so if you wanted to maybe do a little variation there, if you wanted to give her a regular sword, you could still put that effect on even the regular sword, so if you wanted to maybe do something in that respect, you could. So some pretty cool options there, and the sword you could also just display by itself as well. And I don't know, you might even be able to do something with this, maybe something in her hand or something, I don't know. Looking at the psi spike, it actually, depending on like the orientation, since we know her fist goes here and it's the spike that way, it could almost look like a fireball too, like maybe something for I don't know, for the Human Torch or something. But pretty basic, just hooks onto her wrist, and it can actually go on either hand. I had it on the fisted hand, but you can put it on either one if you want to, and it is that same translucent pink material. And then the last piece, we have her little butterfly piece that goes on her face, and that is actually really cool that they included that, because that is definitely a big part of the character's representation of her powers, and it actually just sits on there. So you have the pieces that come off the side, and then you got a little piece that can tuck under the hair, and it's literally as simple as just pushing it on, and it just stays in place. So yeah, it's very cool and very simple in the design. And here we are up close looking at Psylocke, and I gotta say this head sculpt came out looking pretty clean. The paint on it looks good too. My first thought looking at it was whether or not this was reused from Silk, and taking a look, I don't think so. Yeah, the lips definitely look bigger. Of course, that could always be paint, but yeah, eyebrows look different too. So yeah, I don't think this is Silk. This definitely looks like it is a new head sculpt, which is great. Again, the paint came out looking pretty clean. I mean, the eyes look good, the lips, the color on the lips look good. And you can see there on the eyebrow, the paint didn't go all the way down where the eyebrow is sculpted. So, but that's not a big deal. You're never going to notice that. And then the hair looks good. I will admit there were some promo shots, and I know this has been talked about on some other forums, but the hair had some purple in it. Now it's just all black. I definitely would have liked to seen some sort of purple highlights in there, but oh well. The body mold is nothing too crazy. We've seen this a couple times. I think it is the same as the Kate Bishop and most of a lot of the other female body molds. So nothing new there. Single jointed elbows, no waist articulation, just the diaphragm joint. She does have her sash here that is just floppy and can move around. It is a little bit of a flexy material though, so you don't have to worry about breaking it. But the paint definitely looks good. There's a couple spots like there you can see where it was almost like it was too lightly painted. So you get, I don't know, it doesn't, you can see some flesh tone seeping through it, I guess is what I'm saying. And then there's some spots up on the bicep where the lines, if you look on the bicep, the lines of the bands going around didn't quite line up all the way around. Same thing right there. So yeah, some stuff missed there. That's kind of a bummer. Yeah, the bands didn't quite line up there either. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but getting up close shouldn't have too much issue. Leg, actually, I just want to see if this one had any of that banding issue. Looks like the legs actually came out all right. And then you do get paint on the upper knee, but down here is just molded in plastic, so there's no paint down there, and there's nothing too crazy. And then actually, if we look at the line on her hip, you can almost see where that flesh tone is kind of bleeding through again, just barely on the edges. So, get an excuse to look at her butt. Yeah, just barely bleeding through on the edges. But that's not that bad. And again, when we're getting up close like this, those little things, the details can be easier to see. So I'm okay with it. I think it looks all right. And from a distance, it definitely looks fine. And taking a look at her scale, we can see that Psylocke is coming in right at that 6-inch mark. So definitely fitting in scale with all the other figures from the Marvel Legends line. Looking at her articulation, so the hair is going to be a little bit of a hindrance. So you can get it to look all the way down, to the side, but because the hair is there, you're not going to be able to get it to look up at all. And then same thing goes for this side. So you can definitely get some good turns, and it can look down very far, but the hair sticks out, and you can't really get back very far because the hair is getting in the way. So you do have some limited articulation because of the hair. You do actually get a little bit of wobble in it, and then I think we can get a little bit of the forward and backwards motion, but you do get some limited articulation there. Her arms can go quite a ways up. You do get, of course, full rotation. You do have rotation at the elbow with a single joint. You have rotation and a hinge on the wrist. It's there. I can't get it to bend right now. You do have a diaphragm joint, which will let you get it to turn up and down. Doesn't really bury very far and doesn't really go back very far. So you're not going to get a whole lot out of that diaphragm joint other than the twisting motion. No waist articulation. The legs, for a character like this that you could do a really cool kicking pose, unfortunately they don't go that far back. Same thing with going forward, they don't go very far. Going backwards isn't a huge deal, but yeah, they don't go very far back either. You do have an upper thigh cut, you have a double jointed knee, and then you do have a ankle pivot and hinge. And here is Psylocke standing next to two of her X-Men team members. We have the Bucky Cap mold Cyclops, and then we have the somewhat larger female body mold Rogue. And here's Psylocke standing next to her brother Captain Britain, who is proudly displaying the Union Jack flag there, which is from a British Bulldog figure, and I got this idea from Glenn Webb. Rest in peace, Glenn. And here we have Psylocke displayed next to the other Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave figures that I have reviewed so far. We have Sabretooth, Storm, and Magneto. And that about does it for today's review. And overall, very cool figure. The same complaints that you'll always hear about the female figures, though, from Hasbro, especially for a character like this, though, who is meant to be so agile. The fact that we get some of those limitations where we only have the single jointed elbows, we get some, I don't want to say limited leg articulation because it's not terrible, but it could still be better. And then that diaphragm joint not really allowing for a ton of movement as well. So especially for a character that's meant to be this agile, it is kind of a downer that we still don't have something a little bit better. I mean, the Princess Leia from the Black series has double jointed elbows. So I don't know why they can figure out how to give double jointed elbows to the Star Wars line, but they can't do it on what is arguably their bigger line with Marvel Legends. But either way, still a great character, still a great pickup in my opinion, especially if you're building that classic X-Men lineup like you may have been doing with a lot of figures in this wave, to be fair. So definitely worth a pickup, if especially if you want to build the Apocalypse, which I know I can't wait until I get them put together. But anyway, guys, that is it for the review. I do appreciate you watching the video. Make sure to hit that like button down below if you like the review. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you. Try to respond whenever I can. And make sure that if you want more content just like this, including the rest of this wave, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you know when I post. Aside from that, as I mentioned, thank you for watching the video and have a great day.